my co-host with me, Carolyn&Larry Roberts. You're tuned into the Conscious Conversation Show. I'm here on the Oregon coast. It's rainy today, and Carolyn, of course, is deep in the heart of Texas, where I hear the stars at night are big and bright. Um, Carolyn, and what we want to talk a little bit today about is okay. So the energy is different. I think a lot of us have kind of sensed that already. We're tapping. So what? Our question to ponder really is: what are you tapping into right now? There's a constant influx of new, but yet we're seeing like this desperate tightening of control to support this scaffolding of the old that's just hanging on a string basically right now. So
Right.
our question is, what is your new? What is your new, and how you living? How you living, everybody out there? How you living? How you living, Carolyn, down in Big D, Big T?
Big B. Big T. Yeah, no. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just I'm grateful to be here and charged. More of me is present somehow. Yeah, and just excited for whatever needs to be delivered today, offered to its highest.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about time, yeah, and how it seems almost so effortless right now that we're kind of just in now moment living a lot of the time. More often, we were in this phase for a little while where it was back and forth between upper 4D and 3D, dealing with people, and we're still in that kind of mode. But I feel like we're conducting ourselves more and more straight from a concept of really being in that 4D type of mentality, and it's almost becoming quite effortless, really. At least that's been my perception of it.
Yeah.
It just goes to speak to the point about time being really irrelevant, that it's kind of just this construct that was made to control people, to just kind of mold societies into how they thought, their leaders thought that they should be ran. Everybody, same thing, same time, every day, little boxes, right? But it seems now
Yeah.
more where that those old paradigms are just kind of flying out the window.
Yeah.
Your past, present, your future is all at once, and there's really no need to dwell on the past a lot, because there's nothing you can do about it except for understand. I guess the old cliche, you learn from the past, right? You learn from the past. Well, yeah, I mean, the
Right.
past is the past. There is no, and there's no really tomorrow either. There's just right now. So how would we're kind of working out of an environment where we're dealing with, like, how would we want to be, whether this was forever or whether it was just going to be, this would be our last day on earth. How would we want to live it? You know what I mean? Within
Right.
reason, without going completely crazy. And I just
Right.
feel that right now. I feel like everything's kind of just at an even keel right now. Of course, I'm sure the energies will pick back up again, as we get into the summer months towards the solstice for another upgrade or another series of them. But right now, it's just kind of an even mellow flow right now, I'm feeling. And I mean, in our perception, right? But it seems like the world. I'll check in on the news, or I'll hear it walking by where my dad listens to it out in the den, and it's the same old shit, though. That's just different characters. You know, same old,
Yeah. It's
same old.
like I was saying before. I just feel so much more presence. I just feel so much more of the automatic that we all used to have. That automatic, like something happens and we automatically react. It's like we um
You mean
there's a
like,
pause, you know.
yeah, yeah, big time, big time. You mean like, when something would happen, okay, like when we were growing up, like something would happen on a worldwide scale, and so everybody would just kind of react to it. Oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And now it's just kind of a, we're not really jumping up like that and getting all up in arms. At least, those of us that are enlightened, at
It,
least a little bit.
yeah, here's what I'm seeing within me, and it's not a very pleasant picture, but this is what I'm getting is
Okay.
it's like the collective has been tenderized, and what I'm seeing is a piece of steak that's been uh it's been tenderized. So
Yeah.
it's like, and you can say that for the collective heart as well, but it's there's it's I mean, that's the I guess that's the blessing, and so many things happening to all of us, this lifetime. But I would also offer that this this shift that we're in is because of our ancestors, and so the older versions of us as well, this lifetime and others prior or parallel, and how much how much the merging is happening, of that knowing of then and the knowing of now. Yeah, and then I'm hearing no more excuses there, with all compassion included. There really are no more excuses for souls not to begin um to open up to some of these ahas, because it's like they're on a plate is what I'm getting. I mean, the solar flares, the energy, the things happening, they're all like these ahas coming that are like, and you can take them and you can interpret them any way you want. That's personal choice. You can look at them as curiosity and excitement of what's happening. What can this bring? This is different. Or you can freak out about it. That's always an option too. But it's a place where the pause is much more accessible, is what I'm hearing within me. It's much more accessible. It doesn't mean the soul will choose it, but it's presented quite clearly now. And it in the past, I mean, and I'm even thinking that this lifetime earlier, it was like automatic pilot. There wasn't any way to see things any differently. And to me, what I receive is that pause is offered, and it's offered for every soul now, clearly. And it can be presented in wonderful ways and not so wonderful ways. Yeah, but the pause to me is a part of the presence, the energy, which is it's the individual, but I'm also getting within me, it's the energy outside. You go outside, you connect with the mother, the earth, and that I receive, there's more of a stillness that
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing palpable. It's right there. Wake up in the morning and feel the sun and see the sun, and you're like, this is not the same sun when I was a child. This
No.
energy is somehow different. What is this? And the mind will keep searching, and that's beautiful, because the mind brings forward the curiosity, and then the heart can
Yeah.
be expanded by that. Go on.
Well, right, and the thing is, right, and I think we've gotten away too. I'm still hearing a little bit more. You mentioned the sun, like I'm still hearing some people will say, well, that sun doesn't look real with the sun's, but
Right.
less people are in that mode of, oh, it's a government created,
Yeah. Yeah.
to, or some bullshit like that. Um, And I feel like really the energy is really a good flow out of that sun. And I've said it before on previous broadcasts that I really started noticing about 15 years ago that this sun was doing this maybe a day or two a week, right? And then after, as the years have gone by till now, it's gotten to the point where when it's out, it's doing it every day, right? But it
Right.
took we went through periods where it was 2 days a week, 3 days a week, four.
Yeah,
I
that's
started
right.
really noticing that, and it's not something that just it's not a situation where I don't remember, I'm thinking back differently about being a child, and I'm thinking, it just seemed different back then. No, it was fucking different back then. The goddamn moon was a different color back then too. You know what I mean? And I've got a photographic memory when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm an alien and I'm autistic as well, so yeah, I know. I mean,
Right.
when you're not when you don't judge shit or really look for shit like that, and then you notice it, right? Yeah, you notice it. It's not like I went digging to try to notice it. Go, I think, wow, is there something different? Maybe I should talk myself into thinking that there is. Man, maybe. No, there really, there is.
Yes,
Um,
there is. And the other thing I'm going to offer is when I speak of presence, that breaks down into like detachment of events that happen around you that you can choose to engage in or not. And of course, that depends on your personal a connection to it. And even that now is a place where You can choose to step back in a neutrality or compassionate neutrality. And I'm getting within me, you know, some souls can even, you can measure that choice, measure this choice, measure that choice. And that's about presence. But an element of that I'm addressing right now is detachment from whatever that is, either in your immediate physical world or the external events that are happening that want to engage you and want to distract you from your core, from the center. Um, and there's many, and it's like each one, and it's not to be cold to it, it's have compassion to it and react any way that feels right for you. But then I'm being clarified right now. The word would not be react, the word would be to choose or to act or to step forward in that consciously. Um, yeah, it's that
Well,
detachment is like, is amazing to me because I feel like that's one of those things that's really unfolded in the last 2 years is people's ability to detach, you know, just like we were saying with presence, it, you know, they see it, there it is. And and I'm getting within me now, like, yeah, these, I'm seeing within me images like on Instagram or something, and there might be shocking, and where you might have been like pulled into them. Now you can be like, you know, yeah, I'm not going to engage in that. I'm good. I'm good.
mhm,
Thank you. Bye bye. You know, um,
absolutely.
yeah, Larry.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, none of that shit has really phased me that much, but I would have a tendency sometimes to want to go look at it anyway, just to see. And now, I don't even care to see it or care to find out what's
Yep.
going on in the news, what's going on in foreign relations and all that shit, because it's just a constant cycle that goes over and over again. But these celestial events, we've talked about before, are really apropos to this sun, the great central sun Alcyone of the Pleiades and of the Milky Way galaxy too. We're getting closer to that sun, and that particular sun is kind of like the backup light for each of the other suns in our galaxy. Okay, it pumps out and spirals light to it, and we're really getting that Solaris hitting through the sun right now, to where it looks like a nice fluffy yellow edges, but a like fluffy white to it. Right, that's the difference between the sun of now and yesteryear, though. A lot of the time, it's got
It's
that nice
different.
fluffy white
Yeah.
to it. Yeah, you're right. And the moon don't quite get. The moon is more of a whitish color now too, versus, I mean, it's always, okay, it's fluctuated back and forth between yellow and white, but when in yesteryear, it was more of a kind of a yellow twinge to it than it was a pure like
Right.
bright white to it as often as it is now. Yeah,
Right.
totally,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
The
yeah.
You had said spiral, and that was something, and I've mentioned this in other podcasts, but it's like, the more and more that I connect with myself, the more I find the significance in the spiral. And somebody's channel I was listening to yesterday, and it really resonated with me. They called that spiral the spiral of consciousness.
Mhm.
Which it's I even had one of the first podcasts. I had a flower that was a spiral, and it's interesting that, well, one, that you just use the word, because to me I feel like it's these concepts, these words, they're
Yeah.
coming into our regular lexicon of communication where they weren't before, because our consciousness is expanding. And I'm even thinking of chakras now. I don't think anybody hasn't heard of chakras before, or energy centers or something like that. And they all point to, um, the consciousness expanding, and the presence of more souls, coming present is what I'm getting,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Less words are necessary, but the key words are
Yeah.
very necessary, one at a time. Like we talked about, like quantum, like frequency,
Right.
plasma, crystal, vibration, well, who could go wrong with love, but you know what I'm saying? But like, there's never been a shortage of the word quantum or vibration or frequency in our community, in the Starseed Lightworker community, New Age community. There's never been a short of, especially vibration and frequency. But it seems now that everything's so centered around those words. And it always has been, but everything's a known. It's known that it's a flow, that those words are at the center of a flow that goes through everything. I mean, you could say about the words, for instance, you could say about the word vibration, frequency, energy, or quantum. You could say about those words that they. You could take one of those words and say they're the most important word that we have. That everything flows through that word, right? With each one of those various words I just said, because it's true
Yeah.
and it does. Even
Yeah.
plasma, everything is
Yeah.
plasma. Um,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. And everything's I think we're becoming more into an alchemical state too, where we're starting to look at taking these negative things that come our way and turn them into a positive. We're looking at, and since a lot of people are starting to do more artwork when they're depressed, to kind of release that pain,
Yeah.
yeah, in the past we might not have done that so much because we wouldn't have wanted to go there with our feelings like that as much, but people are starting to step into their power and realize that it's okay to do that, and it helps
Right.
release, and things are drawn that spark consciousness. When somebody's hurting and somebody does some artwork, lets that be expressed with their form of light language, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I think that we're becoming more alchemical too. The alchemy of it all is really coming to the forefront. It's kind of like alchemically quantum. We're becoming a more alchemically quantum society. But,
When you, yeah.
yeah,
Go on.
with quantum education, quantum learning, which quantum is just the smallest form of anything you could be talking about. It's breaking everything down into the smallest little tiny minute, millionth of an atom, right? But everything is connected like that. Everything that shows that everything is
Yep.
that, and it's connected through little sparks like that.
The the
Yeah.
point I'm going to clarify with what you're talking about, because it was just so clear with me. Yeah, the quantum, and when we talk about the quantum down to the minute, then and everything mirrors itself. So it's also the macro, right? The larger and the mirroring. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's these concepts that are they're in the collective, I'm hearing the marketplace, actually, what I'm hearing in my head. um I was watching a show, for a while I was watching it with my babe, but it's on Netflix, called Unexplained, and it's one of these, hosted by William Shatner, and it's talking about these newly discovered historical sites or findings they've discovered. And I love watching stuff like that sometimes, because I love to see where the masses are opening to, if that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting because some people will listen to it. I think more will listen to it, and I'm hearing within me the seeds will be planted. um but it was like the very end of it, they were talking about Agartha, but they didn't say Agartha. They just talked about something. Could there be something is there a hollow earth and all this other stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
actual pondering about it, right? And then actual looking at actual how far we've actually dug into the earth, which is the deepest hole has been, like, it was Russia, and they dug down like 7 miles.
Oh
Was it
gosh.
miles?
Wow.
Something. Was it 7 miles? Shoot. I can't remember the
Mm.
measurement, which is significant, but it's the deepest one. Anybody wants to Google it, you can Google it. And it wasn't very wide. It wasn't a very wide hole, but they dug it. They went down, and
When was this? When was this? Art Bell, I think, used to talk about this in the '90s. Or he used to have some kind of a fear story about it, that it was the sounds from hell were from some hole in
no,
Russia that was.
okay, no, they weren't talking about that one. I
Yeah. Okay.
actually was very, very, very compelled to watch. What was it? When you're on the news thing on like Google or whatever, and
Mhm.
you got some story, and then they got, you're going from this page, all these advertisements, this page, and then you're gonna watch this video, and then this page, and you gotta. So it took me a while, but I actually read and watched the whole video. And
Yeah.
yes, that's the hole you're talking about. They didn't even mention that hole. That's the interesting. I thought for sure they'd mentioned that hole, but
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't know if it was real or not. I mean, the way, our art was an entertainer. That's what, a lot of his shit was just,
it
kind of off
it's
the cuff, made up.
I personally, well, me being me, I felt its possibility is real. To hell, no. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, see,
That's a
that's where it
subjective
got
thing,
weird. Yeah,
but
that's what he would do, play it off like
but
the
what
whole thing, hell.
Yeah, but the Russian, okay, I think it was Russian, what the Russian one did show is that, because the earth has these, different layers of crust, and
Yeah.
they went down so far to go, and I know somebody watching is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You went from the first level to the next level, and they didn't realize how hot it is at that next level
Wonder if
down.
that's where the concept of hell might have came from. That's you just sparked something to me. Maybe some kind of fear story. They use that for if
Might
that's the case,
might have
if it
been.
got real hot. Yeah.
But the thing that they noticed was that this solid rock that was solid at the high at the surface level, as they went down so far that rock was no longer solid. It was malleable, and
Hmm.
because of the extreme heat. And it was interesting because for me, I'm watching this show, and you know if I hadn't gone through everything I've gone through, if I hadn't woken up more, I don't even like the word woken, if I hadn't reawakened um,
Hmm.
more and more to what I am, and I'm saying that's where I am now. I'm certainly 5 years from now, that'll be very different. But yeah, and I was watching that show, and I was kind of like, and we still haven't explored Earth much to me. I mean, I was like, they were talking about, we've explored the depths of the ocean, blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, you haven't, because I know
Not
they haven't.
really. Hell no, we haven't. And the Earth
No,
either.
we
Really,
haven't.
there's
No, we
places
have,
in
and
the
then
United States that feet have never sat on. There are places in Russia that we have no clue. We don't know. We don't know a lot about that place. I mean, really don't. I mean, we'd have to get in. We don't know, even with all our spy equipment. There's a lot of shit we don't know about that. It's such a vast
it's a
area.
lot. And then
This
the
is
other thing I keep getting is because we're talking about quantum and we're talking about presence, and what I've always, there's sacred spaces, but you're not going to be able to enter into that energy, into that space, unless you're at the right frequency. And
That's
that's
right.
one of those other dimensions. There's
You
there's
can't just
thousands
walk
of
through
other
there and go
dimensions
through the
of the
door.
mother.
Yeah, you
What's that?
can't just walk through. Yeah, it's got to be too. You can't just go to those places and walk right
No,
through the door. You got to be at that place, and you've got to
yep,
have your vibration at
you
that
do.
frequency.
You won't be
Yeah,
able to
so
go
it's
in that
twofold.
space unless you do have that. Yeah, and you
On a
won't
tour
receive
guide can.
the connection, the communication is what I'm hearing, and that's something that hasn't come forward yet. Although when they're talking about quantum, so quantum, they're getting there. They're getting there. And it was just something I was watching yesterday. Yeah, and I love to kind of watch those. I want to see where science is. I'm always looking at, okay, what have they discovered now? Where are they now? Have they thought about this before? Nope, they're not there yet. Okay. you know um
I know, but
eh,
still, at the same time, I mean, you have to really be into it like you are because you're very scholastic. I mean, I hear that shit. I'm like, wake me up when you're, when you know something for sure, when it's something earth shattering, when it's something that's going to come out to the whole world, when it, but the drip, drip, drip drives me crazy of it, to be honest. But it's all a process, I suppose.
it is, and it's I it's just the nature of me. I was talking to my babe, he's the same. I'll jump on a Yahoo story, and I'll look at, okay,
Yeah,
latest scientific finding, blah 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 blah, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, you're getting there. Not quite, but you're getting there. And then they'll bring up something, and I'll be like, yeah, yes, yeah, that's better than what was. You're actually recognizing this as significant, this as, and they're not using it as a advertising ploy, is what I'm hearing within me. It's something that science is seeing as there's validity to this, you know, and you and I,
Mhm.
there's everybody watching probably knows there's going to be, are we in it yet? Scientific explosion, because of consciousness, what, in the next 5 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
So right now, those watching, those called to watch, you know, the beautiful thing will be that something we say connects with something they're experiencing right now, and it gives them, I'm hearing community, and grounding and validity for all of it, because, you know, just like when you were talking about, God, you said it a minute ago, the sun or something you were saying, and I went into my head and I thought about,
Spiraling, how it spirals the love and the light out, and it
I
all
think,
spirals back to it.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
went within myself to like 2015, and I was like, did it
Mhm.
start then? Like the thoughts, did it start
Mhm.
then? Um, because
I don't know. I've been noticing since about 2010. But I don't know how long it had been going on. You know that.
it might have been, well, I mean, it's a subjective thing, but truly, to me, all of existence is a subjective thing, right? Um,
Hmm.
but the the massiveness of it hasn't come into its clarity until the last 2 years, 3 years.
I would say, yeah,
Um,
that sounds right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
you know, and then the, oh my God, every time we go through one of these, and it's like, well, which
Yeah.
shift is it? Which energy is it? Which, um, I mean, are you feeling, you're receiving rain right now? Is the
Hmm.
energy where you are very still?
Very still. Yeah. Very, very calm and very still. Yeah. Very. Yeah. It
Yeah.
is. It really is.
It's
Yeah.
like here, there isn't
Yeah.
rain, but it's overcast, and
Hmm.
it's very still.
Hmm.
If I wasn't, I'm hearing connected within myself, and excited about offering, having the blessing of this gift of this podcast to share what I offer. Same for you, Larry. And I don't know, another layer of me. I might be sleeping. It's
Yeah.
so calm. It's so calm right now,
It really is.
and
I could. Yeah. I mean, but yet it's not that feeling where like, oh, I'm going to pass out. But I really do feel like it's relaxing to where like I could ease into a meditation and then into a sleep
right,
from this point. I'm kind of just, yeah, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I was running on empty because it's not like that, but I'm kind of just, in kind of a moment of
right.
thought.
And the thing
Yeah.
I'm getting is, hold on one second. Okay,
Yeah.
so like all these shifts, all these, and we talk about it all the time here. We talk about the solar flares and the Schumann
Mhm.
resonance and all these layers of things happening. And just like you were saying a minute ago, that they used to happen every couple days or once a week or whatever, and now it's a place where they're happening every day.
Well, yeah, every day the sun's out like that. Yeah, for sure.
I
Absolutely.
mean, but every day it's like the Schumann resonance. If anybody ever goes and taps into that, and you look at the fact that it's like, you know, in the void space, right? It used to
Hmm.
be like phenomenal, like, oh my God, we were in a blackout void space for the Schumann resonance for 4 hours or 5 hours or whatever.
Well, I know. I
Now
call the police. I know. Yeah.
now we're there for like a day. We're there for like 8 hours. We're there for like, and it's neat because it's like the divine gradually edging us into,
Well, we're kind of more on, we're kind of living more on an etheric type of a plane type setting more and more where it's like we're just kind of, we're as close as we're physically, we're still in that physical form, but
yes,
we're close to being into another dimension as we can be without being in a complete light body. So we're still in
right,
that. It's like from a mental perspective, we're in that lighter consciousness, and yet we're still in a physical form. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it kind of makes me think it's more like we're more on an etheric plane per se.
very
It's just
much,
four-dimensional living. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
not.
And that
Yeah.
the the connection I'm getting, and I've made this connection before, but it just kind of continues its line of clarity is what I'm getting is I've said this before, like with COVID and everything. Yes, it was awful. There was that side of the things that happened, which were awful. But there's always, with everything that happens, there's the negative and the positive. There's the light and the dark. And so the light side of it was that, I received that every single soul at some point was forced to pause,
Yeah.
forced to connect with higher self, because you can only watch so much TV, so many videos,
Yeah.
so much music until you need stillness. And so to me, what I feel like was that time was when I'm seeing an image of somebody dipping their toe in like a pool. And that's when the
Hmm.
collective dipped their toe into stillness, real stillness. And now going forward from, what was that, 5 years ago? Is that right? My
Yeah,
mind is like
COVID, yeah, about the first couple months of 2000. Yeah, yeah, it started really,
5 or 6 years.
hearing
And so
about it, yeah.
going forward from 5 or 6 years ago, collectively, slowly, we've all gotten used to more and more moments. And it's like this stillness. And somebody could say, well, the TV was on. Well, yeah, but the fact is, you can't deny, well, you can deny, but it is reaching the point of it's like it's pushed, it's energetically, divinely pushed this stillness. It's like, yeah, you can put the TV on, you can blast your videos, you can listen to that music, you can do, and at some point you're gonna pause. Your body is gonna want to rest, and your
Yeah.
body, our bodies are connected to the mother, and the mother is still. And that means when you get still, you're going to be feeling that energy. You can't, there's a point where it can't be denied. And now it's like this, it's this concerted effort. And we already know that, but this is what I'm hearing. It's a concerted effort to still every body. Um, like this, like with the Schumann resonance, where we're in the void space for 8 hours or whatever. And all
Yeah.
of these things that are being said are, those listening either know about these, or they're hearing about them, and the hope is that it like piques your interest to go research it and see how much you connect with that, Larry.
Yeah, and the thing is, what was racing through my mind right there is that when you're as far as like listening, you mentioned listening to music, or whether it's the TV's on or you're watching TV, it seems to me like the vibration of all that shit. And I've mentioned this in other ways on other shows. The
Yeah.
vibration of all that is slower. I mean, and
Yes.
it's not that I'm getting older, and it's not that that it was a long time ago, that kind of music or whatever. It could be anything. It just seems like it's slower now. It's not that make you just want to get up and jump. Not that you're not excited enough to get up and jump, but it just doesn't. It's not something that you need to put on to take your mind off of shit and just forget about everything, and I'll get into my music and just go nutty. And yeah,
I'm, I'm getting
it's a very this is vibration of it's really slowed down the frequency because of these upgrades we've had. Is listening to something like a disco or like even probably a heavy metal for people that like that kind of music. It seems like it's really slow, or it's just slow. The same synthesis shit needs to be crazy fast and wild. Just
Yeah, what I'm getting is as we come into presence more, it means that we are coming into multidimensionality more.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting. Every time I start bringing this thing up, because I'm listening to something on my laptop and it switches to the commercial. Interesting. Okay, so um, as we have these events happen, as the presence is happening with more and more individuals, they're connecting more with their multidimensionality. And I was getting this flickering image in my head when you were talking about those shows and those things. Those don't reach us like they used to, because we are, to me, I'm hearing flickering in and out of existence or something.
Yeah, yeah, that resonates. Yeah, yeah,
there's a
exactly.
there's a flickering happening. It's why,
Mhm.
like on Instagram, you're watching something and it's like there it is. You got the attention for how many, whatever, 30 seconds or 45 seconds, and you can feel this within you of this, okay, come on. And what I'm getting is because in general, our full presence is more available, more accessible. And so when we're giving something our full presence, we don't need to watch it for 30 minutes. We don't need to watch it. We don't need to watch this, like what I was talking about the last podcast, Greatest American Hero. We don't need to watch a scene that could be made in 5 minutes, stretched out to 30 minutes. We could.
Oh God, I know, terrible, terrible. And after, it's funny you mentioned that, because after we were done with that show, I was thinking about, you said that, and I was thinking like, God, a half hour to play out a 5 minute, and 5 minutes would be long at that now to do something like that, right?
It,
Even that
it,
would be long for
and
now, and
it depends on the
yeah.
show. It depends on the movie too, right? Because
Yeah,
it
well,
the
it
more
does, yeah, but even with those, even with them, though, it's not what it was.
it's yeah, and I keep getting this thing about pulsing in and out of existence, and it's like uh our
That's how
attention.
multidimensional beings are. Yeah, that's how, if you watch a lot of extraterrestrials in the sky, they do
We're,
that. They're moving in
we're
and out of various dimensions
yeah, but it's like
at
I'm
one
getting.
time.
I mean, as we connect in with that stillness more, and to me that is something that is I don't know if I want to say forced. I feel like the closest word is forced to the collective now. It's like that, yeah, because it becomes unbearable to not surrender to that call on all sides, to that stillness, to that
Hmm.
presence, right? And I'm getting within me, once you surrender to that, because that's divine flow. So once you surrender to that, then you move into this place where more and more what I'm receiving is that, because we're multidimensional, so we're flickering, we're moving presence into this experience, this moment, and then we're pulling back, and we're, I guess, another, or moved higher self, or however that's expressed, and then we're
Yeah, and all at
pulsing
one
back
time.
in.
It seems like. Yeah, and it seems like you're moving in and out like that all at one time, and
Yeah.
the faster your vibration picks up, you get going and
Yeah.
going and going, start moving up the dimensions, the more thinner and clearer, and so you can see certainly how the faster you start moving, at some point it's going to look like you're not there at all, or that you're blinking in and out of reality.
Or it's,
That
yeah, and then the other thing I'm getting is to somebody out external from you, you've been like in your office all day, or you've been kind of sitting around all day, and they think
Yeah.
that you've been lazy or whatever, and you in fact have not even been present. Your
Hmm.
body has been resting, your body maybe has been uh drawing or doodling, and it's been coming through you, but you haven't even been here. You haven't been here for hours. The presence, the energy that is you. And it's this is, to me, what, just like you were saying, what we're moving into is that in and out, that flickering, the in and out, which is because we're pulled into the grounded physical level where we are, and then we're pulled into our higher expression, especially
Yeah,
now.
yeah, and then I think the key becomes what I would like to call multidimensional grounding, to where, okay, so then you have to get used to grounding yourself into the fact that you're blinking out in and out of every dimension at once, and that you have access to, that you're functioning each one of those at the same time, and yet consciously aware of it, right? Yet you have to be comfortable with that part of it. That's, I think, another phase of it too, is to being
Right.
comfortable with being, not all over the place, and having that one problem where your root chakra is not grounded, and so you're having trouble grounding because you're also ascended, and that's where you're bouncing in and out of these dimensions at one time, right?
Right.
Yeah,
I,
it's a balance. Really, it is a true balance.
it's very much a balance. I was also reminded that um we're here in this and then we're back, and I was getting reminded when we were here that part of the ascension, maybe you could say a key part of the ascension, is that we at our higher levels um are going to be caring for the earth. She's no longer going to be cared for the way that she was. Now we care for her. we will at our higher levels. Um,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's like, and that's the, so maybe something's happening on the mother, on the earth, and we are pulled back to our higher level to go mm, to
Well,
be
we are
connected to
part
that.
of her. We are her. We are part of her. And I even think that, eventually maybe we ourselves are our own planets at some point. Maybe this entity that we know of as Mother Gaia was at some point in her evolutionary growth
Very much.
a human, and she moved up into an ascended being, an ascended master, then into a planet. And then maybe after a planet, it's a galaxy or a solar system, excuse me, and then a galaxy. And then a
Right.
universe, and then a cosmos, and I don't know what's after that. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter after that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that we, we've always, I think, realized that we're part of Mother Earth, and everything, but we really are a living body just like her. We need the
Yep.
same thing. We're going through the same things that she's going through. Well, plus we're individually going through the same things that she's going through. Plus, we're all part of her collective too at the same time because we happen to live on that particular body, right?
Right.
So it's twofold there. Um, but we have the same kind of qualities that she does. And the more advanced as souls we become, and the more ascended we become, the more those Mother Gaia type qualities start showing in us. Um, Because she's a very
Yes.
multidimensional being I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And unconditional love. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, yeah. And something I think that, some people forget is that, as we are ascending, we're all connected. And so, like, the mother's
Mhm.
ascending and we're ascending. And to me, she's, this is what I receive for my being. She's actually already ascended. I know there's all these things on the planet. I understand those are, like, I'm hearing the aftermath is what I'm hearing within me. But she herself is, um and in many ways you could say she's always been ascended because she's always been in her divinity, but she's now at this place where, yeah, we already know that she's not, um
Way ascended. She was a planet for Christ's sake, but I get what you're saying. But even
yeah,
at
no,
her level, there's areas to move up. Yeah.
we have to step forward. Yeah, I'm hearing that she's not holding space, and there's nothing mean or judgmental or anything from her perspective on that. It's just she's done that and she can't because she has to take care of herself. And then our job is now to take care of her. And it's not, and I'm
Hmm.
getting within me very clearly, yes, it's in the physical and the choices we make. Yes, definitely. But it's also just as significantly in the energetic and the energetic impact we have on her, um, and how we interact with her, and the rightful place she has always deserved to be, and is now, it's time that she is actually treated that way completely. And when I say these things within my being, I am never about pointing fingers. I'm always feeling this is about, reminding those of her levels and of the choice that every soul has um, to truly honor and respect her,
Yeah.
like you would yourself, um
Well,
yeah.
isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting how you just mentioned like you would respect yourself. Look at how Mother Earth has been disrespected, and look at how
True.
we have
Yep.
treated ourselves as people. Look at how we've been towards ourselves historically, right? To personally,
Right.
not everybody, right? Not everybody, but like we haven't always taken the best care of ourselves individually, even when we're trying to do other people, right? We just kind of just whatever, think I'm not that important or
The
whatever, right?
teaching of the ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm hearing. That's the teaching with no judgment on our ancestors. They did the best they could with what they had, but that's part of the
Mhm.
teaching of our ancestors was for survival, and those things were, necessary. Now I'm hearing something about grids. There were it's like grids of thought forms that were gridded or something, and those grids have been broken apart. And now I'm getting, yeah. And there were physical structures, there were physical abnormalities done to the mother. And like were certain things we thought were, but they actually weren't. And it was we weren't getting the information clearly because before. Now we are. But before, because there were significant efforts made to derail, I'm hearing derail, like the divine alignment and the connection. And now and I know everybody listening probably knows this, but now there are no blocks now to this connection, this beautiful conversation that we have in every moment with the mother, and and with ourselves is what I'm hearing, because we haven't talked about it, but part of this what has shifted has been addressing our deepening it's like the final straggling for those of us that are really we've released so much, and it's like the final stragglers. I'm hearing like the final little strings hanging down, and those are trimmed, those are cut, those are released of what we were, because we are not that anymore, as we choose and we allow. And that's part of what has shifted as well, because it's like this huge clearing. I'm hearing a bulldozer, hearing about a bulldozer coming in, and it's like there's this deeper clarity, there's these ahas. And yes, we get those all the time, but it's like it's profound now. That's why we can connect with the stillness. That's why it's there. And it's like it's I mean, I'm seeing something like everybody's, those souls that are choosing to ignore it. It's like this now. It's like you have to hold on tooth and nail to the old, and you have to hold on to those old belief systems and everything, and be just like this, to not have awareness, to not feel this stillness, which is present. It's here. I know somebody, and I've spoken over before, Larry, to you, sits in front of the TV, watches news all the time.
Sounds like my dad. Yeah.
That's a choice of that soul, and that keeps you in that frequency. And it's like, but when you're not in front of that TV's off. The stillness is like,
They don't understand it. What I can't understand is why they're so. I mean, I do, but I don't. Why they wouldn't ever want any of that stillness? Why they want it on all the time? There are people that sleep with their TV on at night. Now, there are people that do that because they live alone and they're kind of scared and nervous. Now, that I understand. But if you don't have any reason, if you're not fearful of anything, why would you want that son of a bitch on all night?
Because it's familiar. It's
Now,
and there's no judgment. All of us,
no,
you and
but
I and
man,
others, we wouldn't be where we are had we not been in those places before, where we loved our warm shit, and
yeah,
there's no judgment, because none of us are perfect, period, ever.
no,
And it's
no.
like those that are holding on to those old ways, when it's time, they'll release them, and
Like turn the
the
TV off.
the invitations to it are undeniable, and they're not going to end. And I've said this before, but it's like, because the chaos that is just, I mean, it's just, um, it's extreme. It's
Breaking news.
yeah. And the thing I'm getting right now really clearly is the body, the human body, this physical vessel walks on the earth, is connected to the mother, and others can have these images and these things flickering at them and these things happening, but you are physically on the earth, and that energy is pulsing through in every moment. You can block it, the thoughts can block it, but the push to not block it becomes harder and harder and harder to deny. And even as you're sitting there and you're on that TV and you're seeing those things flicker, you're still in that physical body, and that physical body, which we are not our bodies, right? We're this energy in the bodies. That physical body, that physical vehicle is being affected by those things happening on the earth. There is the stillness, and there are the other things happening, right? The events. And it's like the conversation, the connection, and the invitation is always there, and I'm hearing it's required. It's not a pleasant place. And it the thing is, it's that, because why, Larry? Because when they're not in that place where they're used to that familiar, is the stillness, and in the place of the stillness is all the stuff that they don't want to deal with, because it's scary, it's this, it's that, and I hope that stillness is a place where, like the mother, the earth, there's invitation, to turn the TV off and listen to the birds singing those songs of like creation and awakening and excitement and appreciation, and it's all presented all the time now. I feel it so strongly now. It's all there. It's just presented. It's like, here, look, here, right now, here, Larry.
Yeah, the problem. Yeah, right. And I'm thinking too that I don't think that they even quite. A lot of people draw that parallel that they might be doing that because there's a lot of stuff they don't want to face. I mean, they may hear that somebody say that to them and they'll be like, yeah, but I don't think. I think they're. I wonder if people are going to start awakening the fact that, yeah, this is maybe why I need this on all the time, is because I'm trying to avoid something that I don't want to think about. I'm trying to block myself from going there with certain thoughts. I'm trying to distract myself, maybe,
Right.
right? Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm wondering, because I don't think that they quite grasp the fact that it's because they're trying
Consciously,
to,
they're not.
yeah, consciously they're not grasping that it's because I've had this go on or that happen, or, this
Because
is
of
a
this and this and this and
comfort
this.
mechanism to me. Yeah, it's a comfort mechanism. Yeah.
The what am I hearing? I'm hearing the penetration is complete. It's kind of a loaded phrase, but I'm hearing the
Yeah.
penetration is complete.
Well,
The
okay.
penetration into the
Yeah.
illusion, the penetration into what was, the penetration into those structures, and yeah, it's there, it's in them now, and it's up to those souls, and maybe you could even say the souls listening, drawn to this podcast. They're listening, and they're seeds, and they're walking seeds as they walk into these spaces where people are walking around like this. They are the seed. They can say something, they can do something if they choose or they feel called to, but their being itself is the seed. And their beautiful aligned intent, loving intent, whatever you want to say. Yeah,
They're the
Larry.
seed. So they're the seed. So that must mean that us older star seeds that have been doing this a while are the star blossoms now. Maybe our seeds have blossomed and we're blossoming right now. You
Okay,
know,
I'll take that.
You-
Yeah,
yeah. You think that could be the case? They're germinating.
I'm hearing
They're
cosmic
germinating
flowers.
still.
I'm hearing the
Cosmic
cosmic
flower.
flowers. The
Cosmic
cosmic
flower
flower.
power.
Cosmic
Absolutely.
flower power.
The cosmic flower power. Absolutely, man. It's the latest craze. Yeah. So it's it really is interesting. I mean, I've heard that my whole life too, though, that people will do that or need the light on or need a sound to kind of distract from what they're worried about, or what's really bothering them. And then I just kind of thought, whatever. That's just somebody's opinion on it. But it is true. But the problem is like we say with other things, the people that were given that opinion were saying that because they had heard that somewhere and they were regurgitating it, right? Like, when people used to regurgitate catchphrases that are also true, like somebody regurgitate the golden rule, or somebody would regurgitate, yeah, how can you love yourself if you can't love it? Or how can you love anybody if you don't love yourself? Not really meaning the true that they're right, but it's a lot deeper than just, hearing that. It's not that goddamn simple, you know what I mean? And I think we realize now it's not that simple, but But knowing it and awareness of all this stuff is three-quarters of the battle most of the time.
Yep.
And
It's
you know,
yeah, yeah, I was being reminded of the conscious pause, and um I went somewhere. I'm with you, but I just went somewhere because you were talking about it and I was really feeling something. What were you, remind me of what you're saying? Because I was there, but I was like really going very deep just now. Um,
okay, so
yeah, I really was. I was like, because I was just given something and I was still connecting with what I was being given. You were saying, please tell me, Larry.
yeah,
I love,
yeah. I'll try now if I can remember. Um, it seems to me like in the past, I'd always thought that there could be an issue with, right, like what you were saying just a little bit ago, that they're using that because there's issues that they haven't dealt with yet, and it's a mask for them, or it's a comfort, kind of a blanket for them, it's a coping mechanism for them, right?
yes,
And then of course at the same time you'd have people that would say, well, that they would say that that's why these people would be doing it, or they would say something like, well, how can you love yourself if you can't, or how can you love somebody else if you can't love yourself, or how can you you know, just practice the golden rule. It's that simple.
no,
The
right.
problem is in those times, the people that were saying that kind of shit were simplistic in the mind too, and they had really had no idea what they were talking about, except for the fact that it sounded good to say, to give somebody else that kind of advice. Right. But I think people are full of those feelings now and realize now that it is true, but we now are absorbed with the details of that, and we know who, well, we don't just know who and what, we now know when, where, and why between, you know what I mean?
It's the,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you
Yeah.
said golden rule, I went because I remembered when we talked about that earlier. And so, I mean, like to me, what I was, it's the same thing. What you're saying is they aren't just words. They aren't just these phrases that you hear. They
Mhm.
aren't, I'm almost
Right.
hearing they're not necessarily just connected to your parents. They're connected to your present moment. And yes, you can, we're embodying that more, of what that is, and, yeah, now I'm getting the younger generations that have come in. I don't even like to say younger, but the 30, those in their 30s, those in their maybe even 40s, definitely the 20s and going younger than that. They're bringing in this frequency now too, and they brought it in, and they're continuing to bring in this higher, higher, higher frequency, which is also encouraging, inviting, this exploration of it's deeper exploration. No, it's not, there's no assumptions, there's no it's
It's
beautiful.
just a conscious flow with them. Everything is just, when you talk to them and you listen to them talk, it's quick to the point, and they say everything in about a paragraph that I would need a chapter to at least try to get that
Yeah,
something across, right? Yeah.
yeah, I'm hearing within me, though they would probably never use this phrase, but I'm hearing they don't suffer fools, which is not, I don't know who's saying that one, but it's like they're
Well,
not going to waste their
they
time.
don't know any, yeah, they don't know any different. They know that they don't, but they don't realize that they'd have
No,
trouble
they're just,
realizing why somebody would. Yeah, you know what I
they're
mean?
just,
So yeah.
yeah, they're you know authentically aligned is what I'm hearing. They
They're more in line completely with the source, really, because, well, for one, I mean, they're older souls. They're the oldest souls that have
They
ever.
really are. Yeah, that's what I'm getting because
But
I was at.
they haven't really been to Earth ever much. They say that some have been once and most have been never. So, and it was millions of years ago the other time, like Atlantis, Lemuria. So they really don't. Okay. So it's an interesting dichotomy, right? Here comes that word dichotomy again. They're the oldest souls we probably ever had on Earth, but at the same time, they don't really
Right.
know shit about it because they haven't been here. Well, I mean, they know what they need to know, but they're in a really
Which is
strange land.
beautiful because when you say they don't know shit about it, I mean, I'm
Well, they
they,
do, but
because
I
my
mean, they're
question,
not.
they're
This is
not.
not something they vibe
Yeah,
with. No,
they're not as connected to the ancestors. Not in terms of the negative patterns and
thank
stuff.
God for that.
they're more connected to, yeah, like what you were saying, the ancient stuff,
Yeah.
which was the real stuff, which was I'm hearing untainted. Yes, the more
Yeah, they're,
divine
they're
aligned
even
way.
above that. They're even above those old out bastards. I mean, these are even wiser souls than those that our ancients were, and plus they're here in the modern era. Yeah. So I mean, they're way above all that stuff.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So awesome. And it's just peppered in our existence now. All this higher consciousness, all this light, and it's just a matter of these networks connecting now.
I feel like almost Carolyn. I feel like what they are is what they truly embody is. I feel like if I would have heard somebody in the '80s or the '70s, with this, with speaking this I am stuff, or I think therefore I am, and they don't know what the hell they're saying. It sounds like, but they're just saying it. These kids really embody that it just is. And I could just hear them feeling like what they're telling me is basically because it just is.
They
You
have
know
no
what I mean?
apologies. Yeah, they
It just is what it just is. It's like there's no real complicated, big, deep answer. It's just that it is. But if you heard somebody saying that on a, 1980s and '70s new age movie, it'd be like,
well, yeah, the
dude,
other thing you have to keep in mind is that they're able to do this and offer that is because they're in a supported structure far
oh,
more than we
sure.
were, you
Oh,
know?
big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus they're old souls, but that doesn't. Yeah, that helps the cause a lot too. That definitely
Oh, yeah.
does. They have more outlets to look shit up if they wanted to. They have, they're not. Yeah, it'd be Yeah, it'd be really rough, especially since they're not used to Earth too much. It'd be that kind of scenario would be pretty rough on them, probably. Actually,
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I hate to sound like I've got one up on them. Like, hey, that's my one thing I got on.
They would have done, like, I'm hearing within myself, what I ended up being for a long time was a people pleaser. They would have become people pleasers. They would have had to
Oh, big time.
succumb. They would have had to succumb. And I
Yeah.
don't like saying it that way, but that's any before the ancestors, before they, or they might have chosen I'm hearing other behavioral patterns in order to survive, in
Yep.
order to
Yep.
stay intact within themselves,
We're not even scary
Right.
with their
Yeah.
brain. Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, now it's so awesome that they're here, and their rawness, their newness, their craziness, and the energy now. And I mean, and when we talk about what's shifted, and I mean, within me, there's so much more I don't give a fuckness.
And it's not like
And
an attitude like an I don't give a fuckness. It's just an I don't give a fuckness, and this is just how
I
it
don't
is. The
I don't give
attitude
a
is
fuckness. I'm calm. I'm good. I
it's
don't
not
have
like
any
an attitude.
apologies.
It's not
You
like
know.
an enlightened person with an attitude when I was coming up would have had, like, that gangster kind of a style like
Yeah,
that.
that's the truth. That's the
You
truth.
fucking punk like that.
It's a calm, quiet,
It's a calm,
confident.
quiet,
I don't. I'm good. I don't
you
give a
know,
fuck. No, I'm good. Have a nice day.
yeah,
Blessings.
it's more of I'm good instead I don't give a fuck. They don't have to have that kind of
No,
attitude. It comes yeah, it comes in
they're
cycles
just
with.
quietly, when we're talking about that particular group, they're I don't know, they're amazing. They're just quietly themselves. They're unique. That their unique unus, which invites everybody else to their unique unus.
Eunice, Inus, Venus, Venus. Did you ever see that movie? That was actually a New Age movie where this couple was getting married by a New Age preacher, and Eunice, Inus, Venus, togetherness, usness. And then somebody in the background was like, God, this is sickness.
No, but
Yeah, okay.
it sounds interesting.
Yeah. It's called Serial. It was Martin Mull. It was hilarious. Tommy Smothers was the guy playing that. Eunice, I mean, these two were giving vows to each other. Eunice, Venus, we're going to be pair bonding. They didn't call it a marriage; it was pair bonding. Yeah, they were pair bonding. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But,
Huh.
interesting, but yes, I really feel like the time was right for them to come in, and I don't
Yeah.
think honestly that they could have. It would not have been probably just wouldn't have been a good idea to have those kind of souls here before that. I mean, they
No.
weren't here for a reason until they came in. I mean, it just wouldn't have, the energy here, the vibration here, it wasn't ready for them. They sure as hell weren't. I wouldn't have wanted to wish that on somebody at that high of a level to come into that. Uh,
Yeah,
so
it was the
yeah,
timing is divine, right?
right.
So yeah. Um, and even now we're offering this podcast at the end of May, about to enter June. And but we made it through April. That's my thoughts. you know,
Yeah, we're almost through May. Yeah, hey, actually, did we? Damn, we did make it through April.
we made it through
Yeah.
well, we made it through beginning of this year is my thoughts. And then you're
Well,
gonna say,
then,
well, we made it through the end of last year. Yeah, we made it through the
yeah.
end of last year.
Well,
And
that's when
now
it
we're
really
about to
kicked
enter
off.
June.
Yeah, but
What's that, Larry?
those energies really kicked off in November, though, right? That we were going
Oh,
through with the celestial events and, the Mercury retrogrades. And of course, we're always in one of them.
yeah,
Going, of course, transferring into the age of Aquarius finally. I
right.
mean, after it's been, but really, I give it a bad time saying, okay, they've been talking about it since the '60s, and it took 60 years to completely manifest, but that's really nothing in the span of time. You know what I mean? It
No,
takes
it's not.
it takes a minute. It takes a minute to transform a planet, to transform a civilization. Many civilizations trying to coexist together that have been purposely divided apart,
Okay,
for greed purposes, power struggles and
right.
all that shit. So yeah, you're not talking about just civilizations from other planets all on one planet, you know. So it takes a minute. I didn't think it would take thousands of years, but it did, and well, here we are.
Yeah, I'm getting the invitation of the stillness, the invitation of the stillness that's like present, like physically right now in this moment as we record this on the earth, for where you perceive and where I perceive as well. And it's like that invitation um invites into those layers that have been locked in, about, moving those layers, moving those belief systems. um yeah, it's
Everything's
permeating.
multidimensional too. You know how I said that took thousands of years. I was going to also make a snide comment that unless you're there's a big group that believes in the Tartar theory, which is that we're only really a couple hundred years old, and before that we were an advanced civilization. That it was big symbols and big monolithic buildings, which we did have. It all got taken away from us and everything, and history was rewritten. And the thing about
Oh
that kind
yeah.
of shit, the thing about that kind of shit is, I believe there's a lot of truth to that because we're a multidimensional type of
Oh yeah.
existence. But the people that I hear talking about it are, they're trying to take on algebra, and they're not even really to multiplication yet. You know what I mean? When I
But
hear people well, that's true. It is. That's how they just, and then they're like the Nibiru nutters, is my old friend the late great
the
Julian
one,
Welby.
well, I mean, if you want to go there, I always connect with like Elysium and the civilizations before Lemuria
Yeah,
and Atlantis, Easter
right.
Island, and all of those that existed, that were much higher frequency, that were much higher consciousness, much higher,
Absolutely.
you
And
know?
it seems to more reason with the time frame of Earth, right? Oh, I totally connect with all of those, with most of those
Yeah.
too, right? But
Yeah.
it was just kind of come up, and the Tartar thing has kind of picked up some speed, and there's something to it. But I think the good news is all of these thoughts, as the consciousness evolves, all of these uh, this knowledge that we gain, it helps us piece things back together.
Right.
So it's a good thing in the long run. But I just thought, I'm like,
Very
here
much.
West, those people talk about it. I'm like, "Oh, here comes the Nibiru crowd again."
They're bringing into, yeah, I mean, that's, I feel like that's why I love our favorite person, Paul White Gold Eagle, right?
Yeah.
Um, because it's like, when he brings in all those channels and there's that sampling of so many,
Right.
yeah, when I comment on his thing, I have a standard thing I always say, but lately I've been seeing like a ball, a diamond, something, and it's like every channel is like, well, there's one that's interpreting in this way, and there's one that's looking in this way, and there's one that's this way, and there's one that's this way, and this whole thing is called truth, right? And it's very cool to receive all of those perspectives and to be able to perceive them and to stand back and like allow each one to exist, you know the possibility of every single one of those interpretations of like what's happening. and
I think
and
they're all mostly right. Probably they're all probably more
yeah,
than 50% right. Yeah.
they're all like, because there's multiple levels of reality, so
Yep.
yeah, they're all right. And
I just don't
yeah,
like it when it goes down. The problem is sometimes it has a tendency, if you're not really ready to go there, it has a tendency to slip into a rabbit hole real quick, a deep dark hole. Well, this and they did this and they did that, and well, we know we're fuckwads. We get it. I mean,
yeah, you could go into the dark hole. Hopefully, well, at some point, the soul gets tired of going into that dark hole, and it's kind of like, yeah, this dark hole. I know about this dark hole. It's not really happy. It gets old. There's not much excitement in that dark hole.
No, I mean, unless you're Alex Jones and being paid a shitload of money to get on there and talk about that, oh, well, dude, I can get on there and fuck with people for money, but I mean, but really, it gets old because there's only so much that a dark vibration like that. There's only so far you can go with dark energy. There's only so much
And
you
we
can
and
go
you
with
said
it.
that, and yeah, and there's certain really beautiful souls in my reality that go to that place, and they're very focused on that. And it's like, how do you bring that change, right? They're focused on changing those things in the physical, and that's very important. It's vital, right? That focus has to exist as well. And it's like, but you have to keep maintaining the higher frequency so that you're not in the what is the term? I can't think of it. It's that term when in war, the pit with the others, foxhole. Thank you, foxhole with
It's a
the other. That
slippery,
you're
it's a slippery slope. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. It really is. It can happen. It can
It's
happen to even the
very
best of us.
important. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it can happen. Yeah,
you're not
it really
bringing
can.
new to that energy into that situation. If you're regurgitating the same stuff, you're not going to see beyond it unless you do that work to elevate you so that you can be the beacon, is what I'm hearing. um for whatever that is. uh yeah.
Yeah, if you get hung up too much in the process of it all, you're going to just be constantly digging yourself a hole and just going around in circles like an merry-go-round, looking for
Yeah.
clue after clue after clue. And when you get in a mode like that, the only thing a good clue does when you're in a mode like good mode, when you're in a mode like that is that it answers, it opens up 1,000 more questions. Just when you think you might get something solved or figured out that has to do
Yeah.
with whatever it is you're digging into, it'll open up 1,000 more goddamn questions. You get an answer, you get a third of an answer out of any question you want. You get a third of one answer, but then you get 1,000 more goddamn questions that pop up
Yeah,
because
but
of
I'm
it.
hearing within me, yeah, the thoughts like to think, the thoughts like to be the thought, and then they like to keep thinking, and then they'll keep going on and on and on and on, because that's that level of perceiving reality, and that's useful up to a point. But I
Well,
mean,
it's also not our own too. We have to understand, even for the most enlightened person on earth, you live in a situation where um, so many of your thoughts, of your perceptions of everything are jaded a little bit by so many things that are going on. Sure, you can notice the things right in front of you that, okay, yeah, I don't pay attention to that, or I don't do this or listen to that, but it's so insidious here that it's everywhere, right? So
right?
you're thinking of it with, when you have a lot of those weird thoughts come into your mind, That's what they mean, really, when they say some of your thoughts are not your own. It's not like somebody's whispering in your ear, or
Yep.
you got somebody, the voices coming in talking to you. Oh, that's way too good. No, it's just that you've got, well, it is in a way though, because you've got the collective of everybody else that's here
Yep.
that you're feeding, that you're listening to that from, or that you're picking that up from, and you can't help but to do it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You don't know what you don't
Yep.
know.
You don't. And you keep, yeah, it's yeah, to me, I keep hearing logic is a box. It's a very important step because it's how we learn things is through that beautiful step of logic, but then you have to step out of logic or beyond logic because you won't go outside that box. And that
No.
box is the mind. You have to at some point you shift to the heart, and when you shift to the heart, then the mind like opens. I'm seeing like this flower opens, and then the mind opens from the shifting to the heart. The conversation then is in
Reawaken.
flow. Yeah, the reawakening of it. Yeah, the reawakening of that conversation, which is within every soul. I've had this clarity recently, and maybe it's a given, but it's like this aha I've gotten within me recently. To me, our heart is how the divine speaks to us through us, is through our heart, and then it enlightens the whole conversation of the whole body of our
Yeah,
existence, right? And
right.
I've gotten this thing within me about, okay, so when we're shifting to the conversation of the heart and we're in that conversation, then we're in divine flow, and we're actually instruments of the divine. And I was
Hmm.
kind of like, I'm like, oh, it might be a given. You might be like, well, I knew that, but for some reason it was like a duh that I needed, which is like, oh, so we're divine instruments then. Like we're speaking the truth as we receive it through our hearts, and it's a honed heart is what I'm being guided to say too. This isn't just somebody who's spouting out whatever because they're in this conversation, and they're doing their inner work. They're addressing their shadow. They're addressing those blockages. They're aware of them. They're there, and they have awareness of them. They're not ignoring them, and they're allowing that truth to come through them. And that's so profound because as every soul walks in that truth as well as possible, I mean, that's profound.
Well, you
Choices will
know,
not be made, right? There, it's
right.
shifting now. Those choices will not be made because it'll be very clear that choice, although you have free will to make that choice all
Yeah,
you want, but if you make that choice, then you can already feel within you the
yeah.
repercussions of that choice, right? And I'm getting within me to say that's the
Instantly,
reason
yeah.
why we're here now. Our ancestors made those choices out of survival because they were
Uh-huh.
cut off, and even if they were connected to an extent, there was so much
Other
so
minutia
much
going on. Yeah, yeah.
so much pressure.
It makes. I'm kind of foaming at the mouth here with this thought, but it makes me think of the thought of oh, you remember hearing this a lot when you were growing up? Oh, you think with your heart too much. You just think with your heart too much. You got to start using your head a little bit. You think you too much with your heart.
Right.
So that's another example of not every thought is our own, because that kind of stuff plants shit in our heads that no, I gotta, boy, I really gotta start thinking with my head more. I can't really, think with my heart. That got me
I gotta
talking about
stop. I
things.
gotta stop. Or the other element of that is, or you're too sensitive. You're too
Yep.
sensitive. You need to toughen
Oh,
up. You're too sensitive. You need to harden up. You're too sensitive.
yeah,
You
like,
take things, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
in theory, at the time, okay. That's great. Gee, that's great and all, but yeah, you have a magic one. First of all, you have a magic wand to make that happen. Second of all, that's such a simplistic way, though. Now that look back on it, that's such
Oh
a
yeah.
simplistic way of trying to address it, don't you think?
Yes. Very much. It was but it's like just like we've said earlier in this podcast, it's we've grown light years consciousness wise this lifetime, although I've always received that this would be the lifetime, this is the lifetime where we don't carry this shit forward. It ends here, you know. But then the other thing I'm going to say I've been reminded of is how many times have we tried to make this happen this lifetime? That's something I'm being given right now, right? How many times have we come back? Have we come from the future or come from our next now to come
Endless,
back and make this
countless,
happen this lifetime, you know?
dozens upon oh, good. As far as that goes, endless. But as far as
Yeah.
the whole collective, dozens upon dozens, just in this earth, this incarnation of the earth.
Right.
So, you know, time and time and time again, and it goes back
Right.
into when you don't have it under control. So you get caught up in this game where, well, this is what two guys told me. I'm not going to say their names, but they might be archangels, and both of their names start with an M, and they're two best friends actually. Yeah, the real
Yes.
versions of
I hear
they
you. Yes.
their frustration is they felt like they had to keep coming back in and out of time to change things back that were messed up by people that
To
didn't have the
correct
best
things
position
is what I'm hearing within
yeah,
me. Yeah.
and they have to keep
To
coming
correct
back
it.
and forth. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I don't like using their full names because people get too much of a hard on about the two of them and get
The
excited over
connotation is what I'm getting. Yeah, when you say their names, it's yeah, that's the one I'm getting is we're getting it right. We've actually passed that point now, but
yeah,
we're getting it. We got it right finally, and it wasn't the first time, but it's okay because
yeah,
we did it, and its effects are profound, going beyond this universe, right? And in its time, and it's like creator, I'm hearing creator really wanted this. Creator really, you know, we had we had learned those lessons before. We had gone through that, the age prior, and we'd learned the lessons that were I'm hearing the divine test, the divine test of the Piscean age, and we went through that and we made those choices and we had those effects,
yeah,
and now it's a place of the stillness that we have now, this presence that is available to every soul, and the stillness that is available in every moment now. It's like we can partake of it as we do that work, and continually do that work when we're called within ourselves. And from doing that, it's like we benefit from this presence now and this stillness, which we have. I'm hearing to say fought to be here to this space, not just us, but our ancestors, to come here, to bring this frequency here,
yeah,
to lift up, to, and I don't even like the word lift up, to rise, to expand, um, to bring forward the creations that are possible within every human soul from every human heart that we haven't seen enough of yet, that we need to become exhausted seeing the beauty that every soul can create, seeing the sheer amount of things that can be created from a place of curiosity, grounded in like compassion, curiosity, grounded in like excitement or appreciation, and what that can bring forward in our world. We've seen enough of the curiosity that didn't have any compassion. The
yeah,
curiosity didn't have any concern about human life at all. We've been there, we've done that. Now we get to experience joy and see the creations that come from pure joy, pure appreciation, love, compassion flowing into our physical reality. And now is the place where, like what I receive here in May 2025, you know, we're not physically stepping out yet in these creations, but we're certainly envisioning them. We're certainly feeling them, and we are physically preparing for them as much as possible to
yeah,
like explode is what I get, and to move onto the world stage, to bring this novel idea of creations through joy, creations through appreciation, creations through compassion onto the world stage, to transform our world from this place and to invite those souls that haven't even thought about creation in that way, that have only seen it from this dark space, these dark
Yeah.
creations, and now that we get to flip it on its head and like bring through, and it's already happening in small bits, you know, in the pockets here and pockets here, but the explosion of it, you know, is coming. And it's like, I mean, to me, what I feel within me is how much beauty can be grounded onto this planet, you know? How much
Yeah.
beauty can every soul bring through and expand into their own personal realities? And how much can that focus and intent of beauty in all its expressions change what is to what can be? And you know, it's beautiful. And to me, you know, the greatest example of it is the mother. You know, she stands there as this
Boy,
artistic
she is a mother,
masterpiece.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's exciting to me. And it's like this constant invitation now, you know.
You know what I was thinking about too was that this creation, as far as the slant put on it, it's like in the past the undertones were like it either had to do with, okay, so you had the hell factor and then you had the death factor. So
Yeah, I'm getting
they'd
that.
always talk about creation being a beautiful thing, but then it was always centered around whether it was something to do with hell or you dying eventually, or that's just how, it's just how it is, you're gonna
Hell or
die.
heaven.
Yeah,
Right.
hell, yeah, it's heaven or hell, yeah, yeah. When really,
Right.
hell is a state of mind. Heaven is up in this is up in outer space with higher dimensions. It's just high, anything above this dimension would be like heaven, right? And
Right.
so yeah, there's no particular area I don't think you go to and you run into a stop sign or a sign that says 5 miles, 5 kilometers to heaven. Yeah, and it's see, I joke about it, but at the same time, these are the questions that people weren't wanting to answer when asked that kind of shit in the past. Like, well, where is heaven exactly? Well, it's up there. I mean, but if you press them deep, they get uncomfortable trying to answer that question, right? And yet it's not something really that can be answered to begin with. But they weren't sure that what they were the shit that they were regurgitating. They weren't sure of deep down themselves. So they didn't stop to realize that it's more of a metaphor for someplace nicer than it is some physical place or some etheric place you go to.
Yeah, I'm hearing within me, it's here now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, the really cool thing is as you talk about that, like, creation and the duality, the, heaven, hell, all that stuff, the finite lines is what I'm hearing.
And people still believe in it. See, this is what surprised me. People still believe in that. Yeah, it is.
And most people now, yeah, what was that?
I said I know, but the kind of ironic thing is that for me, my thing getting over people every now and then there's still people that believe in that concept though.
Yes.
I wonder if
It,
they really do if they're putting me on. Now I almost sincerely, if I hear it, I think I'm being put on. I really do.
I'm hearing within me, just be patient
Yeah.
with them, you know?
Yeah, yeah, well, I am totally. I can't get mad at him, Carolyn, at all because it's
Yeah.
so preposterous to tell me that. I mean, eh, how could I even get? I'm not even. It doesn't make me mad at all anymore. I
It
just
just, I mean,
it,
we said it before, but,
no,
for a soul to be dogged in that space now takes a lot of work to
sure does,
hold
doesn't it? Dan?
that
Yeah,
still, to hold back the flow of light that is flooding the planet now. To choose not to see that is like an intentional and deliberate thing. It's like, those blinders are, they're holding on tight. There's no longer just kind of passively sitting there and these things are happening and they could just be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because now
yeah,
they have to be like, no, no, I'm gonna not see that. I'm gonna hold on tight to this. And it's a place of extreme fear is what I'm hearing within me.
yeah,
And just like you're saying, I don't feel this way anymore. Well, that's compassion, right? That's
yeah.
because we've
Well,
all
plus
been
it's
there and
so
done that.
Right, probably it is definitely, and then again, it's so ridiculous too. It'd be like the neighbor telling me the house was burning down across the street and there's no flame in sight. You know what I mean?
Right?
It's so, yeah, it's to the point now where it's, yeah, all I can do is laugh. I'm not laughing at them, kind of with them because it's just, yeah. I mean, okay. If then again too, if they want to live in that reality, I have no business telling them what to do or that they can't or
Right?
yeah, that's not my call. It's not like they're, when you talk about they have no choice, it's not like it's a situation though where, you've got a certain body of people forcing them to be that way. You'll be this way. It's just that the energies are to the point where they really don't have a choice to go there as much anymore with
I
it. You
mean,
know what I mean?
to me, free will always exists, but
Yeah,
what makes that pause happen, like we were talking about beginning of the podcast, there's a pause now.
yeah,
There's a pause, and it's not that you can't have a, I'm hearing, and I'm not saying this with any judgment, but I'm hearing a regurgitated reaction, automatic, not thinking. It's like, does that exist? Yes, certainly. There are definitely still those pockets. There's definitely still that energy here on Earth. Yes, yes. But it's now surrounded, is what I'm hearing, by light. It's surrounded by, I mean, and that's only permeating more and more and more, where, what is it, it'll be
and
more uncomfortable. It will be more uncomfortable to not change than to change. That's what I'm
mhm.
hearing. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be easier for them to just go with the flow and kind of feel like, okay,
yeah,
okay, I can relax into this, I can ease into this, I can, I
yeah,
don't
and
have to,
the,
touch
just like we were talking about the young ones, they're helping to buffer that significantly, so that I'm hearing something like that landing will be much easier. That flow when they drop that, which is definitely not easy, but the landing will be much easier, much softer than it would have been before. Thank God.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
falling off a step stool versus falling out of an airplane onto, like glass.
right.
Yeah,
With no parachute.
yeah, yeah, with
Right,
no
right.
parachute, right, yeah, yeah.
Those little ones, those younger ones, to me, I'm hearing those are the little parachutes. There's all parachutes everywhere.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So yeah, yes, I hear you.
I'm envisioning them parachuting into here to kind of to help us. They're like reinforcements, and that's the thing too. Is here that's the other thing, is that with them, it's not going to stop. I mean, there's more and more light workers coming in here all the time. It's picking up, and about every 10 Earth
Yep.
years, it flips to where these incarnates about every 10 years or per se, like as a whole collective, are coming in more advanced, a little more advanced every 10 years we flip. Of course, there are souls here and there that are, but I'm talking about as a whole collective. It's about every Earth 10 years, and that gap's even closing. It's like every 7, 8 years, a big burst of them comes in again. This is
Right.
kind of going on really since well, really totally since about the 50s. Okay, but like a really hard, hardcore different music sold since about the early 90s, some as far back as the early 80s, but about that time, give or take. Now, granted, time is fluid. I don't like to get bogged down into this year, that year. But when I speak in general terms or when I speak in specific terms like that, I'm using those as just kind of gauges to let people know about. But all that shit's fluid, you know. You could be an indigo born in the Blu-ray era. You could be a Blu-ray born in the indigo era. That stuff is fluid, but per se, overall, because there's individual paths and individual shifts and individual ascensions, and there's collective ones at times.
Right. And
Yeah.
I was getting something as you were talking, just popped up, and there it was. You see them on like YouTube or any of the social media. You see these really, really young ones who are these, they're these reincarnated masters who are, the 2-year-old who's playing the piano like a an adult, or the,
Yeah.
and they're all about, they're all about like anchoring joy, anchoring hope.
Yeah.
You know, you're never too old is what I'm hearing within me. Or too young. And it's like this, it's like hope. It's like hope, and I hear expansion within me when I say hope. And they're part of it. They're part of that safety net is what I'm hearing within me right now. Those young ones, those, what do you call them? They're, I keep wanting savants, but that's not the right word. You see them now. Those,
Yeah, yeah, savant's kind of a little bit different, but it
that's
goes
loaded.
along with, huh?
Yeah. I said that one's loaded. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a loaded word. Although I will say that savants are very brilliant, and
Yeah, they are.
it's a matter of not some of that stuff. It's just that we don't understand the multidimensionalness of a being, yeah, like that.
Right.
Right. It's kind of like how we were talking about the kids incarnating in here to now. They don't resonate with that shit that happened before. Well, the savants and they really don't. You know what I mean? They don't. They just don't
Nope. They don't.
at all. They're so way above it.
It
Yeah.
it's foreign to them, and that is so beautiful. The things that are foreign to them, so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, I can't think of that name you were trying to call them. I just know
I
that there's
know.
a guy. Huh? You found it?
They call them gifted. I guess they call them gifted,
They're
right? They
gifted.
call them
Yeah. Well,
gifted because they think that these children are learning this skill, or but that there is a point though that there is being reached where the child's young enough that they can logically connect that child could not possibly have learned that skill this lifetime. Where did that come from, right? I guess they could call it a gift, whatever they want to call it, but it's like it was learned before. They
right.
can pick it before, right?
And I've heard that time and time again. And what gets me is, and I'm hoping that this happens real soon, is that they start exploring that a little bit more to why that is. Not just shake their head, smile, and go, "That's one of God's wonders. That's just one of those mysteries." No, the only fucking mystery about it is why you don't want to really know. That's the only mystery to me about the whole goddamn thing. There's no
I,
mystery at all.
I can't remember what he said, but I love what Cryon, one of the channelings, because I love
Yeah.
Cryon, but it was something about those young ones coming
Yeah.
in now. And this
Oh
was,
yeah.
when was that?
You're
That
talking about
channeling was
decades.
probably at least 10 years old, but it
Oh
was
fuck,
about
we've
this
been talking about it
time.
for longer than that, decades.
Probably, yeah, probably. But it was about the young ones coming in that would already be fully connected, right? And
Right.
and and they are. And it's amazing to think of the ones after those. It's like, damn. you know yeah, they're amazing. They're just amazing. The blessing is that when I substitute taught, I got to meet some of those kids, and some of them I would tell you I didn't have to talk to them. I could just look in their eyes and I could feel them piercing my soul. You
Yeah,
know.
you can do that with even infants that have been, well, always, but
Oh my
in the
God.
last 20 years or so, you can just see within their eyes that, you know what I mean? You can see it.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's just
and
looking
and
right
and
into
you
you, they
know,
know.
you make a fool of yourself just to try to get their attention because you can
Yeah,
just feel their
yeah.
presence coming through them, and you're just like, what are you? Hi, I exist. Nice to meet you. I'm this person. Da, 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 and you want the audience of this incredible ancient soul. What a blessing that those souls are coming present here for us now, that the frequency is rising enough for them to hold welcome for them. Um wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a reason when I think as we go down this road more, people will start to ask the questions is to tie, to use science and to use common things talked about to tie into why these kids are this way, right? You know what I mean? Not just, oh, boy, it's just amazing. Boy, it's just amazing. Boy, it's just a mystery.
Just amazing. It's just a mystery. It's
It's
just
just a fucking
magic. It's
mystery.
just,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah, yeah.
it's coming, and it's coming soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a bad hangover one morning in high school, and it was just such a mystery to me why I told my parents why I was so sick. It was just a mystery. I mean,
I didn't know why.
yeah, what a mystery. Yeah, I mean, thumping headache. It's a mystery.
It's
I
a
was just,
mystery.
yeah, I mean, but oh, it just is. It's just neat. Oh, it's just okay. But and I get it. I'm not trying to mock anybody for that. I mean, a little I am, but what I'm hoping that comes out of that is that the questions will start being asked, and the I's will start being crossed, and the T's will start being dotted, and vice versa. Yeah, and back and forth again.
Yeah, well, this is when all those
You
questions get asked, but then those questions are not going to be answered at all in the same way that they were asked,
I know. Yeah, well, and yeah, there you go. Hence another. Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true. And
Not
they're
at
going to have
all.
to be. Their consciousness level is going to have to be ready for that part of it. That
Not
it's not
the
going to be
same shit.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
it's and it's beautiful, and it's exciting, and it's also very, very challenging sometimes. And I'm talking about the internal shifting that's happening, which is obviously a reflection of the external. Um, yeah, and the intensity and the but I think today, we can feel this peace because of the what is it, every 2 to 3 days it takes for the energy of the flare and all the other stuff to anchor into the bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
About. Yeah.
and so I think today is one of those anchoring days, but it also might be one of those integrate, well, that's the same, guys. Integration, I heard integration isn't anchoring, integration, of those codes
I
that
think.
have come in, you
Yeah.
know
And boy, aren't they coming in fast and furious? I mean, I've been saying that now for months and months, but more and more, and to the point where it's becoming more and more just kind of commonplace almost. You know how we had talked about how only certain people would get those codes if they were to take a photo, right? And then somebody else could take that same photo, same camera, was we weren't getting it.
right.
But
Oh
yeah,
my God. Yeah, it's they're always there. Geez. I'm sitting watching TV and I feel an energy coming through the
yeah.
window, and I take a
Oh, you
picture
see it
and I'm
on the
like, oh
TV.
my God.
Lights look brighter on TV. Lights look brighter in person. And I know, screen shit's better, technology's better now, but it's not just that. Light is more intense now in every way, from everything, even from artificial sources.
Yeah, and the what is that called? Why did that pop in my head? Um Legion, Legend. I saw something.
And things
YouTube.
seem more fluid too. And things seem more fluid when I'm watching. Things seem more
There's
fluid.
there's a new creation that I was like, wow, this is about higher consciousness. This is really cool. It's a production. Is it a production company that is owned? It's you can have a share in a production company, and it's all created by the shareholders. Which, I mean, and the shares are not outrageous. This whole point of it is that so the general person can have a voice and help, like, submit stories and be part of the
Hmm.
production. And it's like, it's, what is it called? It's either called Legend or Legion something another. And I mean, when I saw that, I was like, yes, because the whole point is about giving people a voice, like really giving people a voice, not just a bunch of bullshit. They can help.
Use your voice. Go vote. Use your voice. Use your
They
voice.
can help produce. They can
Yeah.
help. They can submit a story. They can be actively involved in making these movies, and they've already put out a couple movies. And I looked at it, I saw it, I researched it. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually existing. This is actually presented. This is, I'm like, yeah, and I thought to myself, well, what if they had this in every industry, right? What if they're offering this production company where, like, every citizen can be a participant in this. You buy a
Quantum
share.
business.
Shares, I like one share. I think it's like $5. It's like anybody can, like, be a participant. And
Mhm.
I was They just did it. They did it.
They did it. Da, 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 da. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you act now, Carolyn, you can get two for $5.99.
And so I was saying, I love it because when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, what if they do this in every industry? What if they do this in every avenue? What if they do, that every single person could have, they're voicing, they're participating, they're actively, it's a community, right? It's a community
Yeah.
in all of these creations. And I was like, oh, this is way cool. Yeah, but yeah, there they go. Our guides just like turn it
Yeah.
off and turn it on, and they do it like
Yeah.
clockwork. What are we
It,
at?
it,
We're at
yeah.
oh
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
We're getting there too. Yeah. Yeah. Got an appointment I've got to run to too. So
Okay,
yeah, but the
that's okay.
actions, right, right. But everybody has a voice, and it's going to be a voice through actions. It's not going to be at a town hall meeting where, hey man, it's your turn to talk
No,
today. You know what I
they're
mean? Yeah.
they're gonna have to be committed and responsible for that choice. But it's like when you're in that place and you're aligned with yourself and you're ready for
You're
that
gonna want to.
action.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're gonna want to do it. It's
Yeah,
gonna come as a flow. It's not gonna be like, oh, they better shape up, or they're gonna ship their ass back off to Orion real quick. Like,
right,
yeah,
right. Oh, okay. Are you ready to wrap
yep.
it up?
I am Carolyn&Larry Roberts in San Antonio, Texas, in the great state of Texas, in the United States, in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, North American continent. Where in the wonderful world of social media can they find you? In the wonderful world of it,
I
mind you.
Okay, so on Facebook, I am Carolyn&Larry Roberts is my personal page. Everything I share on there is public.
Yeah.
And then my mission business page is Allowing the Light on Facebook and Instagram. It's Allowing the Light with the is it underscores, Larry? I
Yes.
think it's on allowing the
Yeah.
okay. Yes. And then on YouTube, it's Carolyn&Larry Roberts. You could find me under that. And then but there's another channel which I'm not active in, but I have a lot of videos on it, Allowing the Light. I don't think there's underscores on that one. And my mission, as I've alluded to throughout this podcast, is my mission is to be a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, which is the conversation between the sacred mind, sacred heart, body, vehicle, voice of the soul. And I'm here to walk with souls that resonate with me, and that resonate with this conversation. Um, if they choose, I offer private sessions where I help them with situations they're facing or challenges that they're addressing. I'm also a librarian of the heart, which is basically I work with the Akash, but within me, it's a library of the heart, and I'm not really concerned about what you are in those experiences. I'm far more concerned about what you're experiencing energetically, which is how you're feeling, what your emotions are, because those are energetic stamps and energetic pathways, is what I'm hearing, that carry forward from that lifetime, which to me is parallel to this one,
Uh-huh.
and to help you change those patterns so that you can change your reality, because it changes from the inside out. Um, and I'm grateful for your time and your attention. And I pray that this podcast served all souls called to it in this now or any now. And I think that's it, Larry.
Anyhow,
Oh, one more
absolutely. Go
thing.
ahead.
One more thing.
Yeah.
I offer blessing pics, which are light language infused photography and images that are on my Etsy store, which is Allowing the Light on Etsy. And when you search under party supplies and then Allowing the Light, and then I will be one of the top 4 searches on the labyrinth that is Etsy. And that's it, Larry. Thank you so much. Thank you so
And
much,
how
everybody.
Yeah, and how lucky could you get to, find her in one of the top 4 searches? Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, absolutely. I'll make it real quick. You can find me at first of all, I'm gonna say every goddamn place in social media except probably SunCloud, and there's a couple other obscure ones I'm not part of yet. I say yet, but I mean all the grams, the chats, the yips, the yaps, the threads, the dreads, the skies, the lemonades, and the lemonadian Pleiadian on lemonade, and also sometimes I'm the pink lemonadian Pleiadian. No. But you can find me everywhere. And the way you can find all these in one fell swoop is to go to a page on Facebook called Rockin' Larry Locken's social media outlets. That's Rockin', Rocken, Locken is my last name. So that's why I thought it'd be witty to call it Rockin' with an E instead of an IN. But you can go there, or you can just type in, because I have a secondary name for that page too, which you can do on Facebook. And it's called the Larry Locken Network. But yeah, Rockin' Larry Locken social media outlets, and what'll show you is it'll show you every Facebook group I've ever created over the years, every YouTube, all the 5 YouTube channels I have, the different places in social media you can find me. All of that stuff is there. You just got to scroll down. I mean, the pain in the ass of it may be scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and then scrolling some more, maybe, or maybe you'll get lucky and you won't have to. But I would hope you go and find out what one way or another. So yeah, just go over there and please, give it a like if you can. And I'll tell you, if you give it a like, it's not gonna be something where, believe me, this is something you'll never hear from, like in a notification bothering you, because I don't put anything there. The only thing that goes on there is if I'm starting a new venture or something, a new page, a new social media outlet, whatever, right? And that doesn't happen a lot. Okay, that's not all the time, and I don't plan on starting a bunch more. The only thing that would go on there would be is if I went into another social media outlet, right? I'd put where you could find me on that particular one. That I would put on there, but those aren't, those are very few and far between. And even when it happens, the chance that you hear the notification is probably very rare. So you're not going to be bothered by the page, posting things that are going to bother you. So like, if you really ever want to do a guy a favor, go hit the like button. I'm still obsessed with hitting that 10,000. I don't get obsessed with numbers anymore, but it's been, it's got 9,900 and some. So, once it gets 10,000, and I'll never ever worry about another number ever again until the next time. Um, so you can find me there, and we really do appreciate you tuning in to us every Thursday morning, 9 o'clock on the West Coast of the United States. Of course, it's 11 o'clock down in the Rio Grande area where
In the heart of Texas, yes.
yeah, deep in part of Texas. Yeah, I said the Rio Grande. I don't know if she's particularly right at the Rio Grande, but to me, to good old West Coast Yankee like me, everywhere's the Rio Grande in Texas. So no matter where you're at, even if you're in downtown Dallas, you're in the Rio Grande. Oh, anyway, so I'm kidding, by the way. People, you got to have a little bit of sense of humor with this existence here. So that's where you can find me, Larry Locken social media outlets, and it'll tell you everywhere I am. And I'm pretty much in more places than not with these social media outlets, and I can't wait. Also, I'd like to drop one other thing too, is that what I'd like to do sometime is have people on a show with me to talk about these social media outlets, like which ones you prefer. I'm not trying to get into a bitch session about them. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see, because I use them strictly, well, about 90% strictly for just the brand, just to, put my stuff out there, and that's it. I don't have time to really do anything else on them, but I'm curious as to what people think about, different ones that they may use for social reasons, whether you use, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Lemonade, Threads, Blue Sky, all that stuff. Reddit, Reddit's another one, Quora, and I also break down how the differences between all those from what I've perceived. And with each one of them, there's about 2 or 3 problems I see that could be fixed, and it would really go a long way in helping them out. I'm not so sure they really want to do that though, but it would take 2 or 3 things for each of them, and it's different things. It's a combination of a few things. Some of them, some of them have 2 of the 3, some of them have 3 of the 3, some of them have, it's just a mixture, right? But that's what I see, and I'd be curious to hear what people think about those different kind of social media platforms, because Carolyn's not the one to ask. She keeps it pretty basic with what she's on. Um, so I can't ask her about Lemonade and all these other new ones popping up.
Maybe you can ask me about TikTok, apparently, but not here. I'm just telling you what I got a little while ago. So go on.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, with that being said, so much love to our YouTube crowd that listened today, the Twitch, Instagram, and TikTok, and oddly enough, TikTok. Okay. I didn't have the other equipment set up, but we would like to also be on Facebook Live at the same time, as well as on X at the same time, Twitter. Okay, so and I've got one other thing called Rumble too. So 7, ideally it'd be to be on 7 live at once, and then however many more come up after that. Hopefully it'll be so many that we can't even focus on doing a show. We'll just be like, are we on here? Are we on there? We'll spend the whole show talking about that instead of any substance with any luck. Anyway, so Carolyn, thank you so much. And we
Thank
cut
you,
that off at
Larry.
200. All right, girl. All right,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
You got a big cosmic dating game kiss to everybody out there. Mwah. Da, 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 da. Okay, and we're off. Hold on, I gotta hang. Yeah, sit there and smile, Carolyn. I gotta hang this up. I can't find the X, so there's the X. An X. Okay. All right, we're
Ready?
off. No, we're off.